Hello boys and girls, today I want to talk about equalizers. One of the most important weapons in the studio, and the reason I want to do this is because I think 2 days ago a new equalizer was born. And that's not just any equalizer, it is actually a pretty mind-blowing product, a very innovative product that might change the way we EQ in the future. It adds a new dimension to EQing. And you guys know I love innovative products. There's nothing more boring than another SSL, API, or Neve equalizer, especially if the interface, imitates the analog originals. I hate that. So this EQ is the opposite of that. It introduces, like I said, a completely new feature that I haven't seen anywhere before that. It enables you to EQ the transient and the tonal information of your signal separately. If that sounds too technical for you, let me explain it like this. So, for example, you can EQ the attack of your snare separately from the sustain of your snare. That sounds better, right? Or you can EQ the percussive part of your guitar sound separately from the tonal part, from the sustain. And let's talk about the mother of all vocal EQing problems. And that is that we all want to add highs, want to add treble to those vocals and make them airy and shiny, but that also makes them sibilant. So now think about this. If you can just EQ the tonal information of your vocals and lift the higher frequencies just there and not in the transient information where the stuff is, that might be a game changer, right? Doesn't that sound fantastic? All right, let's dive into this because Eventide, the legendary Eventide, have just released SplitEQ. Let's have a look at it. Eventide, SplitEQ. Here it is. First of all, you can make it as big as you want. That is really cool. I like that. So it looks like a typical modern equalizer, right? It has the fab filter look. But I'm happy about that because, I was one of the first guys, something like 15 years ago, to start using equalizers that look like this. Because if you can just grab a band with your mouse, that is the most intuitive and the fastest way to EQ in the box. Back then I still have that one? Yeah. I started with this one, App EQ. You remember that one? That was maybe 2003 or something when I used that EQ, maybe later. And eventually I started using Fab Filter, of course. So this looks like a typical modern equalizer. It has all the functions you need and you can use it. That's an important information. You can use it like any traditional equalizer. You just grab a band, move it around. I think if you press Shift here, you can control the bandwidth. Here you can set it to different filter types, low shelf, peak, notch, high shelf, tilt shelf, and bandpass. And here you can switch the slope, which is a feature that hardly anyone uses except for me. And I think if you press alternate, then you reset the filter. You can also listen, like solo listen to the single bands. And additionally, there are two filters, high and low pass filter at the left and at the right. So pretty basic stuff, right? But over here, it gets special. Here you can see in green, it says transient, and in blue, it says tonal. And each band can be split, if needed, into those two sections. That means if I boost here, can you see those two handles in blue and green? I can control those two separately. Okay, so they stay synced as you see, but I can reset this one even and just control, in this case, the tonal information. Pretty smart. So let's try that on a snare. I just loaded my infamous Kohle cold concrete crack snare. You remember that snare drum sample that I recorded over there when we built our second control room? You can get that sample, by the way, if you subscribe to my email list, but I will tell you about that a little later. That's already a good sounding sample. We all know that, but let's just see what we can do with the EQ. Let me loop the sample. The first thing you have to do, and I'm already sure I will forget it a few times in this video, is you have to choose the right algorithm. So the EQ plugin, so SplitEQ, knows what you are EQing and knows how to separate the transients from the tonal information. So right here, it's on full mix. By the way, to be very honest, I've used it on full mix quite a few times and it always sounded great. So I don't know how important that is, but let's just choose snare. First thing I want to do, I want to show you two different ways of boosting the punch, the fundamental punch. And we can see our fundamental frequency down here. So let's just grab a band, make it a little more narrow. And now you can decide whether you want to make the attack, only the attack of your snare drum, fatter, or if you want to make the sustain, let's call it warmer. Let's try both. Let's start with the attack. Nice. And now the opposite thing. Let's make the sustain a little warmer. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that cool to be able to treat that separately? Now, I don't like the sustain thing, so I will set that back. I just want the attack to be boosted. Boom. All right. You can do the same thing to any ringing frequency that snare might have. We don't have any real annoying ringing frequencies in this sample, but I want to show you how it works anyway. So let's just see if there's something annoying in the mids. So what about this? So if I want to get rid of this, I will just grab, in this case, just grab the tonal side of the equalizer, so the blue one, and bring it down. Fantastic. That just means that the ring is gone, and we all know that snares usually have a lot of ringing problems. So the ringing is gone, but it doesn't affect the attack. So the attack of my snare stays broadband, so to say. Really cool. Okay, let's talk about the high end of that snare drum. So let's just add a shelving filter. And that sounds a little annoying. Well, the main attack of a snare usually sits a lot lower, maybe around 2 or 3K, something there. And also boosting, using a high shelf on a snare drum is usually not a good idea because you will end up with a lot of cymbal bleed on your recording. But with this EQ, it makes sense again because by boosting only the transients, you will get a lot less cymbal bleed. But I want to show you something else. Here's a little trick how to use a high shelf filter on a snare. I think you can only do that with this EQ. What you can do is, if you just boost the tonal side, you can boost the snare wires in a very, very nice sounding way. That sounds a lot better than most bottom snare mics. Let's have a listen. That's almost 60 dB. Amazing. And we're not changing the attack. We're not adding anything annoying up there. But now let's add some real attack, which, as I've just told you, lies a lot deeper. Let's find it. And we're just using the transient side this time. Maybe I can use the listen feature this time. This is band number 4. So let's go here. Does that work? Ah, and there's a snap. Or this one. Nice. Awesome. Let's have a quick listen to before and after. This is how it sounds now. More punch, less ringing. We hear those beautiful snare wires suddenly, and we have more attack. And I want to show you one more thing. You see this honky frequency here that I removed, where I just removed the tonal part. If I remove the transients here as well, you will see that the attack, the punch of our snare gets compromised. Like, you hear that? It sounds a little hollow now. But like this, the attack is not changed, and just when the ringing comes in, it gets reduced. Really cool. It's like an EQ version of a transient designer, which is pretty fucking amazing. I like new stuff. I like new stuff if it solves my problems in the studio, you know? That's what counts. So, next thing would be, let's see, let's take a tom. This is an unprocessed tom that I just recorded last week. A tom sample, just one hit. Let's loop it. And I think you can, you can reset everything. Let's have a listen to the tom. Here we go. And this is very interesting. You can see that the transient information and the tonal information look very different here. You can see the sustain of the tom in blue, and you can see the attack of the tom in green. That's actually different frequencies. You can see like the tom going down. So let's start with boosting the sustain of the tom. And I just want to boost the tonal information. So that makes the tom sound longer and fuller, but we're not putting a lot of energy into the tom. We're just putting that bass information into the sustain and not into the initial attack where there's the most energy. So that's quite smart. And I can see that the initial attack, the punch of the attack, sits a little higher. So let's try to boost that with the transient side, like this. And something else I do very often is I try to reduce the upper bass region, like the octaves of the fundamental node or other resonances coming from the shell or coming from the drum head, somewhere here. And I'm just going to use a traditional EQ band for this. There's some kind of plastic frequency in the attack. Can you hear that? Let's try to remove that. And it's gone without affecting the ring out of the tom. Awesome. Let's add some attack. So we just need green. Now let's have a listen before and after. By the way, I forgot to say that these two sliders here, these two main sliders, they kind of work like a transient designer. So you can just reduce or boost the sustain, and the same with the attack. Let's just have a listen to how that sounds. More attack. Less attack. Longer tom. Shorter tom. Pretty extreme settings. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about vocals. Finally, let's talk about vocals, and let's try to boost the highs on vocals without boosting the What we got here is Rob Vitaka from The Alligator Wine. And we will let him sing this beautiful phrase.
Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies, and together we fall apart.
All right, so now we're gonna, I have already reset SplitEQ. It's gonna be vocal. Here we go. And I wanna boost the highs traditionally first. So with a normal shelving EQ, something like this, a little less steep maybe, something like this, 6 dB, so a lot. And let's see, maybe 4K.
Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies.
And you can hear the F of the word friend already sounds way too sharp. So this is, unfortunately, too much. But let's do this. Now we will remove the transient part of this EQ band and just leave the tonal part.
Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies, and together we fall apart. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the...
Isn't this amazing? And you can even do this. You take another band and you have a look at where the sibilant frequency is. So you see it's around here. Whenever he sings friend, you can see it here. And here you take down, a little bit more narrow, you take down the transient side, the green side.
Fall apart. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies, and together we fall apart.
Let's make a little comparison. I'm going to bypass this EQ and I'm going to imitate the same thing with FabFilter Pro Q.
Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies.
That is so much better. Let me just boost even more. We can turn on the second band again. That will help us. And let me just boost even more.
Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies.
This is 9 dB of boost and it still sounds musical.
The Lord of the Flies. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies. Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies.
Let's try this with FabFilter.
Hey, my friend, I'm the Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, it's not a fair competition. It's a different technique, right? So this is something brand new, something really smart and based on, I think, a good algorithm. If you choose the right one, but it actually also works if you choose another one. But just like I expected, this is very, very powerful for a lot of things, Bypassed. So I just received this plugin today. I started fiddling around with it today. So I'm sorry for not knowing everything about it. And I'm sorry for making mistakes with the algorithms and stuff, you know. But I can already tell you two things about this plugin. First of all, it's a great sounding EQ. And you can tell that especially when you do those bigger moves like I did without destroying your audio tracks. So this EQ sounds great. Also, in the high end, it sounds good. That's the first thing. And of course, the second thing is it has that additional functionality that you can split the signal into tonal and transient information. And that is something unique. I don't know any other EQ that can do that. And yes, I've been doing similar things to what I've been showing you with dynamic EQs. And that works, but let me tell you, it's a lot more difficult to set up, and it always depends on the dynamics. So if the drummer is playing hard and then playing soft, you need to change the settings. So it's a lot easier to use a plugin like this. And you know what? I like tools that make my life more easy. Very simple. I don't care what they look like, but they need to be functional and they need to make my life more easy. They need to solve problems. So if I can stop working sooner and start drinking beer earlier, I'm happy. As simple as that. It reminds me a little bit of Soothe. You know that plugin Soothe that removes nasty resonances from audio material? Yeah, I've been doing the same thing with other plugins before, but it was a lot more work and took me a lot longer. So this seems to be the same thing. On top of that, since I've just started fiddling around with the plugin today, I'm sure there are a lot of things I haven't even thought about that you can do with this plugin. But so far, I know that it works on bass guitar, on acoustic guitars, on clean guitars, and especially on drums and vocals. Pretty much everywhere where you can make a difference between transients and tonal information. The only category of tracks where it doesn't really work is heavy metal, chuga chuga high gain guitars. Because they are, there is no transient and there is no tonal information. It's just fucking noise. It's filtered pink noise. So it doesn't really work on high gain guitars. But for the rest, hey, Eventide have done a great job. Let me say that. And thanks for sending me the plugin. What I want to know from you guys is, how do you like those spontaneous videos? Usually I take a lot more time to prepare my videos. But today I thought, hey, why not just dive right into it and make a spontaneous video. Make some mistakes. If you want to see more like that, let me know in the comments, please. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to subscribe to this channel and ring the damn bell, okay? So you don't miss any of my further videos. And additionally, you may want to subscribe to my email list because, you get a lot of free stuff. I said that so many times now. You get a lot of free stuff, samples, IRs, and you can meet, I think, 2,500 other cool people on my Discord channel if you sign up to my email list, where we talk about metal, audio, studio, guitars, and beer. It's wonderful there. Just, there's a link below to my email list, and I want you to subscribe. I'm not used to having two cameras, but it's so cool. It's so cool. I think that's all for today. This is a great new tool I want you to check out. Thanks Eventide for sending me the plugin. I will have a lot of fun with it, and I think it will make my studio work a little more easy in the future, so I can be even more lazy. That's all for today. Leave a comment. I love you all. I see you in hell, motherfuckers. Bye-bye.